Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and joining me this week, I have my two good friends. I have Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Good evening, Jemma. Or good morning, I guess, for you. Good
It
afternoon,
is
whenever you're listening.
salutations, greetings and salutations. And joining me again this week, I have Kirk. Welcome back.
Hello. I'm going to stick with simple hello so we don't need to worry about where
I
anyone's
was, I
located
was,
when they're listening.
yeah, I was highly anticipating what your greeting would be. So thank you.
The greeting's the toughest part.
It is. Honestly, it is. Yes, I agree. But thank you, listeners, for joining us. We have a big show for you again this week. We're going to talk about the Game Awards that are coming up. We're going to talk about the new Atari 50 collection that was announced, plus a level 5 showcase, as well as a touch on holiday deals again from last week. And then, of course, the games we're playing. We have a pretty long list there, a pretty healthy list, I'd say. So let's kick things off with the Game Awards. And I wanted to ask you guys, do you know a lot about the Game Awards in general? Like it's an annual event, right? And it's been going, I think, about 10 years or so.
Has it been that long?
I think so, 2014, right?
Wow. That shows you how long I've been with Pure Nintendo, because I'm like, I don't remember that prior to Pure Nintendo, but I joined Pure Nintendo in 2013, so that
Well,
makes
there you
sense.
go. Yeah. Is it a huge deal for the gaming industry, in your opinion? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I've never actually watched it in full.
Hmm.
So for me, I can't say it is, but the fact that even Nintendo has done some unveilings in association with the show. I
Hmm.
think it's getting bigger. I have to say.
Seems to be. Yeah, they've dropped a few trailers like that we've like surprise trailers, right? In previous years, I think.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah. So that tells me
yeah.
it's bigger than than I personally think it is.
Mm. Do you watch it, Kirk, usually?
Can I tell a quick tangential story to explain why
You
I don't watch it?
Sure. Yes, I would love that, please.
When I was a child in 1982 or 83, all the way back then, the movie Tron, which I guess this is kind of game related because we associate Tron with games, right?
Hmm.
The
Definitely.
original Tron was nominated for Best Costume Design and it
Right.
lost to Gandhi.
Oh,
The
okay.
designs in Tron, those intricate electric kind of designs with the colors and all that, lost
Mm.
to a bunch of people basically in togas. And as a
Right.
12-year-old child, I was devastated that my movie didn't win and swore off all award everything for the rest of my life. So
Wow.
I don't follow the Game Awards. I don't know anything about them. I don't even know who's running them because I don't care. Plus, I also think that they're just clickbait. It's just a chance for everybody to
Yeah.
get on and scream because this wasn't nominated or this was, or in fact,
Uh-huh.
there's controversy this year, right?
Yes, there is because one of the nominees is Dave the Diver, which, I was like, oh, that should definitely be nominated. But it was nominated for Best Indie Title, and people are up in arms because apparently they think it doesn't qualify as an indie title, which I hadn't really considered. I guess I didn't know that much about it. I just assumed it was an indie title, and I think it is. And the sort of what would you call him? Jeff Niley. What is he? The showrunner? Is he the owner of the Game Awards? I don't know what his title officially is, but he's the person behind it all. And he's defended it, saying, indie means a lot of different things to different people, and there's
Yeah,
no sort of, yeah.
yeah, very convenient for him to be able to make that claim. Who published it?
Yeah,
Who developed it? What's why the controversy?
it was. Well, I think the controversy is that the developer is a small studio, but I think it's owned by a bigger studio from what I've from what I read.
Which then begs the question, because is indie associated by team size or is it by
Mm,
budget? Because if these
mhm.
are a small team but they're getting financed with big bucks, then I can see the dilemma, you know,
Yeah.
because you think about it in terms, maybe our listeners know, traditionally, when you think of first party, you don't just think of Nintendo developed games, you think of games Nintendo has also published. And it's not
Mhm,
necessarily games that they're making, but they're financing them, they're covering the promotional aspects, things like
mhm.
that. does the same
Yeah.
rules apply with indie games? I
Hmm.
don't have a yes or no, but I think it's a fair discussion, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the team is small, and I do believe their budget was also small, but they do belong to a big publisher. So I think that's the controversy. But I don't know, like only the teams involved would know how much help they had or money was given to them. And yeah, there is no like, I mean, there's no money limit to say if it's below this amount, it's an indie game, or if it's above, it's not. So it's tricky. I don't know. It's only, and I think it looks like an indie game. Like that's what everyone expects, right? It looks very indie and it's done very well. And
Well,
yeah.
again, as a Nintendo player, I remember like back with like the Wii U, and Nintendo wouldn't even. I remember it was big news. I think we actually were the first to unveil it when they started giving licenses to people who would be working basically out of their garage or out of their basement. Because
Hmm.
prior they used to have needed like their own office space. So in my mind, I'm like, ooh, indies are like one guy in a garage, you know, or
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
indies a team of people that are a subsidiary of a bigger company? Like it's you could probably ask 10 gamers and get 7 or 8 different answers, honestly.
That is
But I
true.
think team size and budget, I think, are two key things.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think indie. I mean, because it's going to mean independent. So in my mind,
Hmm.
it's more like we don't have financial backing from someone else to do this game. We're kind of doing it on our own time,
Hmm.
and then they may find a publisher later. But it, I mean, if it is ambiguous, then I think it would be up to this Jeff fellow to say, okay, well, here's how we're defining it, as opposed to saying
Hmm.
it can mean anything to anyone because you haven't defined it. And now you get to decide what games fit into that category every single year without any rhyme or
Yeah.
reason to it. So,
Hmm.
again, not that I care that much, just looking at it from the standpoint of the controversy, I think they should at least define what to them classifies as indie. So going forward, then nobody's getting all up in arms about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think a definition would make sense in that regard. Yeah, and I feel for the team. I mean, obviously it's going ahead. They're not going to retract it at this point. That would be unfair as well, I suppose. But
Yeah.
you know, how would you feel if you were the team who made this great game and it's done very well and been successful, got great reviews, and then now there's this controversy. I mean, it might help even push the game sales further, to be honest. So maybe it's a good
Oh
thing.
no,
But
it will. Any news, I think, that's the old axiom. Any news is good news.
yeah, yeah,
And especially on Switch, where games, if you don't catch them on release day, they get buried in
mm,
the eShop, and then you never see them again. So,
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you are right though about your analogy, Trev. People in a garage, like the people that I've spoken to, like at PAX, for example. It's like one or two people. It's like a very small team, and some of them, it's not even their full-time job. They just do it on the side. They're trying to break into the industry, and they're making these great games. Like that's indie, right? But I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. I mean, like think of us. I mean, we are an independent Nintendo magazine. We all have day jobs.
mhm. Yeah,
What would
that's
happen
true.
if we started getting, funding from Nintendo? Hey, you can still put out your content, but we want to make sure, your reviews meet our criteria, or we want to make sure we have
Mhm.
editability over your interviews. We can redact questions we don't like.
Yes, that
It's a
doesn't
fair
sound like it.
conversation. It is, and
Yeah,
I
it
feel bad
is.
for people probably on either side, especially when
Yeah.
passions run high. But it's one of
Mm,
those. There's just no definitive answer that I know of, a consensus on
yeah.
what constitute an indie.
And I mean, I don't know the details, but what if that studio was independent and they were bought and like during development, for example, and I don't know if that's the case, but you know, that means they were definitely indie and now they've kind of almost made it, but their game that they are working on is still their baby kind of thing, like it's still, I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah. So,
But you know what that's again like, and maybe you guys would know. I mean, holidays approaching. You ever do like those secret Santas and they're like, oh, don't spend more than $15. And then there's that one guy that spends like 75, $80. He's like, oh, I couldn't help it. This was perfect for you. It's,
mm,
it's like, is that the equivalent with these games? It's like, oh, we're going to give you an extra, $20,000 to just polish it up or whatever. I don't know.
It's a good analogy. Yeah. Good holiday analogy there.
Well, it's an analogy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. But I mean,
It
the good
sounds
thing
to me
about
like Joe. Sorry, it sounds to me like
no,
Trevor's
you go.
bitter about the Secret Santas. He didn't get that guy. He always got someone else.
Someone who spent less than those 15. They
Yeah,
spent $5.
You know that's not me, Kirk. But
that's
I
true.
wanted to do an analogy with Tron.
That,
I was going to say at least Bruce Boxleitner. I think he got an award with Babylon 5. They beat Star Trek. They got like a Hugo or whatever. Does that help?
that does. That does. And at least we know that whatever this controversy is, it's not as bad as Gandhi winning best costumes over Tron. So all the developers could settle down and look back to
Yeah.
1982 for the real catastrophe in the awards industry.
What was the
Yeah.
budget for Gandhi versus Tron?
I love that Tron is an 80s movie, so they weren't using, flash computer graphics to make their costumes look good. It would have been actual costumes, right? It would have been, they would
Oh
have had,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
They did this again. I don't. They filmed the whole thing in black and white, and then they went in like frame by frame, I believe, and kind of colored in those lighting effects to make it look like they were glowing. I mean, it was a very old school Disney approach to creating something cool looking.
Wow.
And
Wasn't
then,
there too like when there was like where there were deficiencies on the negative or whatever? They had like this kind of flash effect that they like wrote into the script, so it like made sense to kind of
Ah,
hide
maybe.
whatever.
Yeah, and I know
to
Braun
know.
Gandhi, they just threw sheets on top of everybody and said, "Go stand here."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was Egyptian cotton. You know how many fabrics or threads were in there? It's like 900
At least
pounds.
1,000. At least 1,000. Yes.
What
Well,
were we talking
anyway,
about again? I forget.
the
Game
Game Awards.
Awards. How about the
But just
games
to
that? Sorry. Go ahead, Gemma. I'm
Well, I
interrupting
was probably
your
going to say the
show.
same thing. The same. It's not. It's our show. It's our show. I was probably going to say the same thing that you were. That there are some nominees that we're very interested in. Nintendo has received quite a few this year, which is great. So, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, Pikmin 4. I probably missed some on that list, have I? But they're all, I think, and Zelda and Mario, for example. I think they've been nominated for a bunch of different categories, like Game of the Year. I think Mario's like Family Game of the Year or something like that. Tears of the Kingdom has Best Art Direction, Game Direction, Score and Music, a lot of categories, which is really, really cool. And there's a really good chance that one of those will do well, at least, I think. And what's Pikmin for? Best Family and Best Sim Strategy, which is really good. Even was Fire Emblem up there, I think? Was that there or not? Just trying to think now, looking at the
I hope
list.
so. I don't know, but
Because
I hope so.
yeah, best sim strategy is Fire Emblem, and same with
Nice.
Advance Wars 1 and 2. So there's a few others in the mix as well.
Oh. Wait, they have Pikmin 4 and not Pikmin 1 and 2 because they got released on the Switch.
True. I wonder what
Where's the
I don't,
controversy for
They
that?
do
yeah.
re-releases though. I don't think that would be
Well,
fair unless it's
it's not in
completely
the,
overhauled.
yeah, maybe, yeah, they weren't HD release, were they? But I mean, Super Mario RPG is not on there, but they only came out probably, I think it came out after the nominees were made, actually.
That's another weird thing too. They do the cutoff really early. I feel like
Mm,
it's a week before Thanksgiving they cut it off. A lot of the big games don't come out till Black Friday.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's weird.
exactly. Yeah, I think Nintendo's got a very good chance. Like, there's a good mix of games. Sonic's in there, and Disney Illusion. What is it? Illusion Island. I think
See, we never
Mario.
reviewed that. I don't even know if that's good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good, but I think Mario's better. So, but I'm also a little biased when it comes to Mario. But also another indie game is Dredge, that's been nominated for Best Independent Game, and that one I haven't. To admit, I haven't played it, but I did talk to the developers at PAX, and I did play it at PAX, but I haven't played it at home. But it's a really cool game. I talked about at the time in October. So that one is up there, and it's sort of, what is it, a Lovecraftian sea adventure? Yeah, it's really, really cool developed game from a New Zealand team, I believe. So go Dredge. Yeah, so it's a really good list, and I think the Game Awards themselves are on the 7th of December, so only a couple of days after the show airs. So next week we can, I guess, debate if we how we feel, Kirk, especially if anyone was robbed of a victory.
We're not convinced Kirk's gonna watch it. He's still holding on to the
Yep.
that grudge for 4
Yeah.
years.
Yep. Until I get a
Yeah.
written apology from the Academy for for what happened. I'm
What
not
if like
giving anyone.
what if something that you really liked was nominated for something like Godzilla minus one or something? Would you watch it then?
Oh,
Boy, yeah. Well, in Japan, they were. In fact, I think Shin Godzilla, the movie before this, won Movie of the Year in Japan. So maybe I'll just go over there and pay attention to their awards and the
Yeah.
West. The
Yeah.
moral
West.
dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, excellent. Well, thank you for that wrap up of the Game Awards. I'm not sure. Sorry, I said the seventh. It may be the eighth. Actually, I've written the eighth, but I thought I read the seventh. Anyway, it's later this week. We'll touch base again next week to see who came out on top. Let's move on to another announcement that came during the week, which was the Atari 50, the anniversary celebration, which gets 12 new games December 5th, which will be the day after this show launches, actually, with free DLC. Did you want to talk about that, Kirk? What does that mean for us?
Well, and actually, we'll bring Trev into this too because he reviewed the game for us. Atari 50th anniversary celebration is this gigantic sort of like historical and I don't know. Trev, help me out. It's games, just games galore throughout the history of Atari, and it came out last year. So it's now Atari 51, I suppose. It's the 51st anniversary. But I don't think they indicated that they were going to be adding to it, and they just announced that they're going to put 12 new games on it with plans to do more down the road.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
Well, the
cool.
thing is, the format they have with that kind of interactive timeline that proved popular because we've used that again with you might remember some episodes back. I was talking about the making of Karateka or Karateka,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
that
Mhm.
employs a very very similar format. There's a name for it. I forget the exact name, but that's kind of their thing with these retro games, and I think that's really what made the Atari collection succeed the way it did because there were other Atari collections even on the Switch, but they had that interactive timeline and they had not just 2600 games, but 7800, Jaguar, Lynx, some
Mm.
prototypes and whatnot. This particular update seems like it's just 2600, according to the
Okay.
email I saw, which is kind of a bummer. But if it paves the way, like Kirk said, for more down the road, and especially if they're free, then you can't really complain. I mean, it's exciting to think about what might come.
Yeah. So how many games were on the original collection that you reviewed last year? It's a
Uh,
lot. It's quite a few, right?
well, it's 50, right? It's in the title. No, I actually don't know. I think I linked in the review a master list because
Yeah.
if I typed it all, that'd be my word count for the review. So
Yeah. Yeah, I thought well, that's what I thought Atari 50 was, but it's not. It's the 50th anniversary, right? Which is why it's
yeah,
51 now. We're saying, yeah,
the
okay.
bulk were 2600. They had arcade. They had some 5200, some 7800, some Jag, some Lynx, and actually a few PC because Atari was kind of big in the PCs in the 80s, especially I think over like in Europe and stuff. So um,
Yeah. How do you feel about them not including these games originally versus adding them now? I mean, they're free, which is awesome. Is it like why wouldn't they package them up when they did it last year as a, do you think it's to kind of give it another lease of life, a bit like Mario Kart, let's add something fresh so that people might it rejuvenates sales or something like that. I don't know. How do you feel
that's a
about that?
pretty good question. I think, well, it could be two things. One, they could just be waiting to see the type of reception. Is this a game worth
Mhm.
supporting? Did it get people excited? But also, even at the time of release, I remember they promoted a game on Twitter. It was an old Lynx game called Warbirds. It was a very kind of a technical showcase, and that didn't end up making the release. And when I asked them, they said there was some last minute licensing snafu or something. So
Ah, okay.
maybe I don't know a lot of how the paperwork goes for this type of thing. Maybe they were waiting for certain things to clear, licenses to
Mhm.
expire, renew, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Well, that's
Yep.
cool. I mean, free DLC is good. Do you have any other thoughts on this one, Kirk?
What I did go back to Trevor's review. The original contained over 100 games, according to the
Wow.
review. So there's already a lot there.
Yeah,
And they
heaps.
did say that this collection is a mix of prototypes, homebrews, and official titles. So I have a feeling that some of these 12 will be things that either weren't finished or have kind of disappeared
Mhm.
over the years. So if you're an Atari historian or fan, then it looks like there's going to be some interesting new content out there. But I am
Mm.
mostly curious about the official titles, or would be. I don't have the original, so I have nothing to compare it against. But
Mhm.
if anybody wants to do this for the Intellivision system, I'll be all over it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, totally. And these games, just to be clear, they're just ports of the original, right? It's not like the one you talked about last week that's what was it, Berserk or something? The
Oh,
one with
yeah,
the
no,
Yeah,
these
robot?
are
Yeah.
emulated originals.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is cool. But yeah, 100 plus games. That's like that's a good collection in my mind. We talk
And
about
I
the
mean,
word
I gave
collection a
it a
lot.
9 out of 10. That's not like an outlier score. I was looking on Metacritic. On 19
Mhm.
reviews, the Switch version has a 89, which is one of the,
Cool.
one of the highest scoring games
Yeah.
last year. If you look at how Metacritic does that. So
Was it on your game of the year list or not?
last year I had it.
You did. There you go. Cool.
I did. Yeah, my top 10.
Nice. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. So that comes out this week, the extra DLC. So then I suppose we'll be talking about that on the show next week, maybe to see how it fares. Will
Yeah.
that be
It
accurate?
comes out
Cool.
like a day after this episode post or something, I think.
Yeah, the 5th, December the 5th. So listeners, keep an eye
Uh,
out for that. We'd love to know, listeners, if you picked up the anniversary celebration, or if you were planning to get it with new DLC, or what your thoughts are. Let us know. In other news, there was a level 5 showcase, I think. When was this? A couple of days ago? And it
yeah,
showed off
maybe
some
like
trailers.
3 days ago, or depending on when
Yeah.
you listen to the show.
Yeah. So sometime at the start of the month, I guess, or end of November, trailers for Fantasy Life and Professor Layton, both of which we're very excited about. I'm very excited about. I'm pretty sure Trev's very excited about. And is that why
Absolutely.
you were playing Layton recently? You were playing in the DS, was it? The original?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my tendency. They announce a game in a series, and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go back to an older game to get in the mood. Or sometimes if I can't get the game at launch and I feel like I'm missing out, I'll go back to an
Hmm.
older game. In the case of Layton, it shouldn't matter because it's not going to be out till 2025. But
Wow, that's a long wait.
there are quite a few Layton games, so between
Yeah,
DS,
there are heaps.
3DS, Switch. So
Yeah, I was just wondering how many there are. There's definitely a heap.
there's the original DS trilogy. Then there's what they call the second trilogy, which is one DS game and two 3DS games.
Hmm.
Then there's uh, the crossover, Layton versus Wright, which is more an Ace Attorney game than a Layton game, but it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
still good. I think I reviewed that back in the day. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. And then there's the last one, not counting any mobile stuff, but there's a
Hmm.
Catriel and the
Oh,
Millionaires
yeah.
Conspiracy on Switch, which I probably loved more than. Well, I did. I loved it more than any critic. I have the highest score on Metacritic for that one, but
Right. What did you give that one?
I gave it a 9. And
Yeah.
the average review, I think, was like 73, but I think I was the only one that gave it an. I think the other highest were like 8.5. So it was a change in format. It wasn't so much one kind of big epic tale. It was kind of segmented that were connected to a bigger tale. But a lot of people, couldn't get into that. Even Katie reviewed the 3DS game. I think she gave it like a 6. So
There you go.
yeah, but I like
Yeah.
any Layton. It doesn't matter, who's leading it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that one.
Yeah, definitely. I love the Layton series as well. I haven't played all of them, but I think I've played most of them, including that last one, and I really enjoyed it. So, why is
Yeah,
it 2025? They're still working on development, and it's a Switch title, right? There's no Switch 2 murmurs
yeah,
at this
that's
point.
that's another thing, and that's what's funny with this showcase is you have a game like Clayton where it's like, oh, there's no Switch successor because that's not coming out till 2025 on Switch, and then you got a game
Mm,
like the Fantasy Life sequel, which is kind of fueling Switch 2 rumors because they're like, oh, we're delaying it for strategic reasons, and it's like, oh, that's going to be Switch 2 coming out next summer. I don't know. It's
yeah,
weird.
that is weird. So Fantasy Life is coming out summer 2024. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was hard to catch because they were Japanese trailers, and like I was joking about earlier with Godzilla, I have a hard time watching and reading at the same time.
Yeah.
But it looks good. It looks good from what they showed, and obviously I think we all love the original games.
Yeah, absolutely. I did enjoy Fantasy Life. I spent a lot of time with that. It was summer holiday for me over here in Australia when I played that quite a few years ago. And I think I mentioned Fae Farm recently had Fantasy Life vibes that I really enjoyed. So it sort of made me pine for it. And I think, I don't know if this was on air or off air, but I mentioned to you, Trev, that I couldn't find my original cartridge of the game. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind playing Fantasy Life again, but
Oh
don't know where
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, dang it. That's okay.
I may replay mine after I finish with Layton. I may replay mine while I wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never did. I never did 100% it. I wasn't even
No,
close to be honest, but I
me
really
neither.
did.
But because it was like you could choose, I can't remember how many there were now. There were so many different fields you could choose, like jobs or whatever you could
It was
choose.
almost overwhelming, really.
Yeah,
But
it was
it
a
was good.
lot. It was, yeah, and you keep going back to that little cave area to get, to practice your magic or your sword play or whatever, depending on what class you were. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Then you get back to
I
the
think I
town and you
started as a fisherman, if I remember right.
yeah. I
That
think
was
I
my
did whatever the magic one was, I think, first, like witch or wizard or whatever it was. Yeah, but I tried a lot. I did the chef one. That was so cool. And the graphics were lovely too. I just hope, and I haven't seen the latest trailer, but this one looks a lot more I wanted to retain that same look as the original, that kind of I don't know if you call it retro, but it's very top-down 16-bit style, but lovely, of course. And I just don't want this one to be too 3D or anything like that. I love the original style. Do you think it fits into that category, or is it a bit different?
well. Well, that's where they're releasing it on. Oh no, wait, are they releasing it on a Switch? I don't know. That's a good
We don't.
question.
Yeah.
I hear you though, because I felt the same way with Mario RPG. I was so attached to that unique,
Mm,
graphical look that I'm like, oh, it's gonna take me getting used to, but you know,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's how Kirk felt with when they redid Tron. Was it
Yeah.
Tron Legacy?
Tron
Oh yeah.
Legacy.
Do we? Is that something we don't talk about, or do we?
Oh no, yeah. I was just happy to get a new Tron movie. I knew it wasn't going to win best costume design when I went to see it, but no, yeah. I
Yeah.
actually, it's a good point, Trev, because I did miss some of that original look. Um, you
Hmm.
know, so yeah, I get it. Yes.
Are you a Layton or Fantasy Life fan or player of games, Kirk?
I have no experience at all with Fantasy Life. I did play a bit of a Layton game, and there was a knockoff that I think came to the iPhone, like a girl. There was a girl that was somehow associated with them, but doing her own thing, like Latoy. I can't
Oh, is it
remember.
that mystery room game or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of experience, but everything that you guys said about the game, I agree with. It's one that I love the look of it, and I'm sure if I dug into it, I would get a kick out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
And
stay
what's
tuned for
nice
more. But
too. Oh, I'm sorry, Gemma. I didn't
yeah,
mean to.
no, no, no. It does look nice. You go. Yeah.
I was gonna say the Layton games. I'm pretty sure, and also the Phoenix Wright games for that matter. I think they do have like HD mobile updates because a lot of the originals were on the DS or 3DS, which limited screen resolution. So if you want to check it out on mobile, because these games probably would play good on mobile, just the type of puzzle
Mm,
games they are. They do have them in HD. I know for a fact they get the first one at least. So I don't know if they have everyone, but might
yeah.
be worth
And
looking
because
into just to see if you like the series enough to get legit physical copies on Nintendo hardware.
mm, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do have that, and they'll fit the Switch, and they definitely fit the DS and the 3DS very well because they're very much, you know, not point and click exactly, but the puzzles require, touch elements, or they at least work that into the hardware really well. It was very appropriate for it was designed well for the DS and 3DS, I think. So
Mm,
hopefully that translates well into the Switch. But it'll also have its non-handheld mode, its docked mode, so
yeah.
it'll have to work both ways, I guess. But anyway.
I think it will because the Catriel game really I
Oh,
thought
true.
translated well, and the Switch doesn't have dual screen in handheld, but the way they kind
Mm,
of split it, I quickly got into it. I mean, I wasn't like, staring at it or poking my way around like this is clunky. Like it just works. So
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. That's exciting. I look forward to hearing more from level 5. But yeah, a bit of a wait still. So anyway, was there anything else from that showcase that was worth mentioning, or really just those 2 highlights?
there were a few other games, but those are the only two that I really paid attention to just because I like the prior
Mm.
installment. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're long run. Well, Fantasy Life only has the one entry, I guess, but Layton certainly is a long running series.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there will be a lot of excited people to get their hands on a new one. Anyway, let's touch on holiday deals again because we've, just been through Thanksgiving and Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and obviously Christmas is coming, and it's just that time of year when everything is going on sale, and gamers are looking for bargains because who doesn't want to play games during the holidays, right? I do. So, and like Kirk does it well because you add that little heart icon, you put it on your wish list, right, on the eShop, so you know when. Is that how you know when something's on sale?
Yes, yeah. If you
Yeah.
when you heart it, they'll kick out an email to you if there's a reason for you to check it out.
Yeah, which is awesome. So there's a big sale at the moment. It's sort of the Black Friday sale that's kind of ending on the 4th, which is the day that this show will release. So if you happen to be listening on the 4th, you still have a chance to jump online and get some pretty big savings in that sale. But there's obviously more sales coming up as well. And Trev, did you say you picked up Lego Star Wars for a really good price? Is that what you said before the show?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a joke when you're like, if you catch it the day of release, you
Yeah.
got to click that bell to get notified. That's what the YouTubers.
Yes, yes, yes. Click the bell, subscribe, and you'll be notified if you click the bell. So,
Yeah, I did. I picked up Lego Star Wars on the Switch for Cyber Monday. $15 for a physical copy, which I thought was
mm,
great because the Lego games often do go on sale for pretty cheap. But
mhm,
I'm a fan of physical media, and I wanted to have it on the shelf. And it was a game I hadn't picked up, even though Kirk and I were able to see it at E3 back in the day. So it was one that had
mm.
been on my radar, and I liked previous Lego games that were attached to movies. So I like Indiana Jones or Batman, whatever. So I knew I'd like this, and you were telling me
Mhm.
you liked it. You even got like was it the DLC or something?
Yeah, I got the deluxe version when it came out because, yeah, Star Wars fan and Lego fan and, Switch fan. So kind of all 3 in 1. I had played the previous, or was it on the Wii, I think, that had Star Wars, maybe it was the original trilogy or something like that. Maybe and it maybe even had the prequels actually, but now obviously this is the complete saga because it has the sequel trilogy as well. So it's all 9 movies, plus it has DLC for like the Solo movie and Andor. It has Mandalorian stuff in it. It's got
Oh
all the
wow!
characters. Yeah, it's
I
got
didn't know it had the
so much.
shows. That's awesome.
Yeah, not. I don't think it's got I could be wrong about this, but at least the original version didn't have like you don't play through the shows, but the characters are there that you can unlock or buy DLC.
Oh,
So
it's not like DLC levels. It's just characters.
no, just characters, just like skins.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things with this, with I guess Lego in general, but also the Star Wars games. Like if you look at the character select screen, there's like not a million, but a lot. There's like the screen with the little circles that you have to fill out with question marks. It's like it's huge. It's almost overwhelming, but there's a lot to collect. And you can be almost anyone. Like you can be random robots, random droids, any random pilot. It's just like you can be anybody, from like General Grievous to Darth Vader, obviously. But yeah, just no one, like no name pilot people. It's like, why would you be that person? I don't know, but they're there. They're there if you want to be that person. So
Do they have
yeah.
what is it? TK421? Why aren't you at your post?
Yeah,
TK421.
probably. Yeah. Yeah, so that's really cool. And yeah, like you said, Lego games do go on sale. Speaking of Indiana Jones, I would love to see a new collection with the last movie included. I wonder if they'll do a new version for that.
Yeah, it's the last movie really it didn't that's a whole nother rant, but budgets for movies today are just not reflective of the box office audience. So
Mm.
it's like, even if they make money when your budget is, $250 million,
Yeah.
you just need to pack them in to even break even. And yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
the film made enough to warrant that, but we'll see how it does on
True.
Disney Plus. It just came out on Disney Plus. What?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I just saw it on my feed as well. So, yeah. But I mean, I'm just trying to think with Indiana Jones whether the last game, which I think was on the Wii, there may be other versions that I'm not aware of, but I think it only had the original trilogy, not even the fourth movie. So there
The
might be
fourth
scope
movie
for
got a separate. It was like
Oh, did
Lego
it?
Through the Adventures Continue, because I have it
Oh,
not on
okay.
the Wii, I have it on the DS,
Right.
um, and it
Fair
is a
enough.
little
Yeah.
bit, it's spread out because it's just one movie rather than three. So I guess it depends how much you like Crystal Skull. If you like, I happen to think Crystal Skull is pretty good. So, but
Mm.
I might be in the vocal minority on that. In fact, I know I am. So
Hey, I enjoyed it at the time. I need to watch it again because I think I've only seen it the one time, but I enjoyed it. I was just happy to see Indy back, really. But anyway, but we digress. So let's move on because speaking of sales, you picked up something good, Kirk, which I think you said you were planning to get, and I'm glad you did, was Persona 5 Royal. Is it Royal or
Yes.
Royale?
I just, you know what? I switched. When I don't know, I just swap back and forth and hope eventually someone will correct me and I'll get it right. We'll go
I've
with
heard it.
Royal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have
Um,
the E on the end, right? So it's not
yeah. So I think it's
technically. Yeah,
Royal.
okay. All right.
Um,
It just sounds fancy to say it the other way. Sorry. So yes, tell us
yes.
about Persona 5 Royal.
This is, I mentioned before, I played it on the PS3 a while back. I didn't get too far into it. For various reasons, but I'm absolutely loving the time with it on the Switch. And I'm glad it went on sale and I'm glad I picked it up. And this time I think I'm going to get all the way through it. In fact, my son Sam was watching me play it and he said, this is one that I think once I go to college, and I don't know why that's the stipulation, but when I'm in college and I'm done playing games like Deep Woken and all those things on the computer with his friends and is getting more into single player games, this is going to be the first one he does. Um, so yeah, it's got a very slick sort of anime vibe to it. It's very musical, and I don't mean it's like a rhythm game. It's just got this soundtrack that kind of permeates everything. The characters move in a very sort of animated way, and that it's very choreographed. They don't look like normal people walking around. They got like a style or a swagger to them that is just throughout the whole game. It's very a lot of attitude, we'll say. But the gameplay is a lot of fun, and it changes up a lot. There's you're going into these dungeons, and I won't go too much into it because it is a very complicated story to kind of lay out. But you go into these
Hmm.
dungeons areas where most of the turn based combat is, and it's a lot like a Shin Megami Tensei game where there are demons that you're fighting. Certain things work better against them. You can communicate with them to get items or even get them to join you. So you get their powers moving on. But there's an also, it takes place around like this group of high school kids. So their lifestyle and the things that they're doing every day are very much part of it, like getting part time jobs and buying certain items out of vending machines. I mean, things that small. So it's really cool and a lot of fun, and I'm sure I'm sticking with it this time and play it through to the end.
How long is it? It's a pretty long game, right? Like it's hours and hours of
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah, I'm maybe 10 to 15 hours into it so far, and I have not even
Mhm.
completed the first battle.
Oh, wow.
It's broken up into days too, and you have to like, let's say you need to finish this dungeon and clear the whole area out, get on to the next part by a certain day. And you may have 12 days before you even need to complete it. So you could literally spend those 12 days just walking around town and doing these other things to get more abilities, get more um, equipment that you could use, raise more money so you can buy better guns and armor and stuff like that. So there's an awful lot to do, and you can make it take as long or as short a period of time as you want.
Oh, cool. I like that. That's an interesting aspect to it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
honestly, that's kind of why I quit before because I felt like I was doing everything wrong.
In what way?
If that makes sense, like there are so many options to me, and I felt like I did not optimize anything, and I wasn't preparing myself
Mm.
and using my time better. So I thought I want to do this with a guide, but I was too far to go back and start again, so I just quit. And now that I'm
Right.
starting back again, now I am using a bit of a guide to say it's best to get this and do this. It doesn't take away from the gameplay because I'm still going through and fighting the way you're supposed to do it, but some of the little decisions I'm letting other people make those for me.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Thank you for that. And it's 50% off. Oh, that ends actually on the 3rd,
Yeah,
apparently. Yeah.
it's like 2:59 on the 4th Eastern time. So that would be Pacific time in the US. That would be right before midnight on December 3rd.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, but I'm glad you got it at least, and I'm sure well, you mentioned it last week, so hopefully some listeners picked it up. And yeah, if you're enjoying it as much as Kirk, let us know. I'm playing quite a few games actually at the moment, and I wanted to touch very quickly on Super Mario Brothers Wonder first, just because I've finally finished it, and not because it was um, difficult, but just because I was biding my time with it a little bit. Like we were up to Bowser a while ago, but we just put off that last level, and we just did it on the weekend. So yeah, finished it. Collected. We haven't collected quite all of the badges yet, but we've got, I think, maybe 4 to go. So, and yeah, the I don't know if you've done the end, either of you two, but yeah, it's a very interesting battle. I don't want to give spoilers away, but you would have noticed in the game there's a lot of rhythm-based challenges, and that is part of the final battle as well, which is it's a really
Ah,
fun battle.
spoiler.
No, it's just that's all I say. It's a really fun final battle. Not terribly difficult, I didn't think, but challenging enough, and but really fun.
We're
It made
fighting
me smile.
Bowser at the end. See, that
Yeah,
in
you're fighting
itself is a spoiler. I thought it was going to be Wart.
Bowser.
Mario
Yeah,
2.
I know. Surprise. That would have been a good surprise. Yeah, just waiting for him
Oh,
to come back. Still waiting for him to join the Mario Kart roster or something. Where is Wart? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've loved Mario Brothers Wonder. It's been such a fun game. My only criticism, which you'll see in my review, is I didn't find it terribly difficult, but it's certainly fun. It's certainly, and it has its challenges, and there's a lot to collect. And now and I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you finish the boss, like the main game, um, it does show you which levels are missing. Like you when you pause, you can see you can see all the levels that you've done and whether you've collected the top of the flagpole and you've got all the wonder seeds. There's question marks for levels that you haven't done, which is really handy because you can now oh, I've still got 3 or 4 levels to find in the waterfall world, whatever it is. So now we have to go back and do that. So loving it, very good. And I will continue because it's so much fun. And I'm also playing, and this is a recent one. In fact, this just came out on December the 1st, I believe, which is SteamWorld Build.
Yeah, yesterday. For when we're recording, it was just yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the SteamWorld games because I loved SteamWorld Dig, and the second one, I can't remember the name of it, where you're in
Heist.
space. What is it? Heist, yes, that's the one.
Oh,
And the thing with SteamWorld is, if you're not familiar with the series, each game is very different in style, in genre, right? Like SteamWorld Dig was kind of a platformer, almost a metroidvania style. Heist was like was it like a strategy game, I guess? It was like very different. And this one is a
it's
simulation
kind of
game.
Fire Emblem in a way, actually, with
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
some elements
Mm.
of like well, I don't want to say the levels were randomized per se because I think they had said starting and ends, but there was an element of it which I
Mm.
think they did really really well. That's actually one of my favorite games from probably.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, and it's an interesting tactic from the developers because you think, Mario generally the platforming games. I mean, Wonder is a bit different. It's a bit of a departure from the last series, but still, it's a platforming game, right? It's always a platformer through and through, and generally that's what you do. You do RPGs or you do platformers or you do simulation games, whatever it is. These guys they change it up every time, and I wonder how that works for their fans. I will say I'm not a simulation player generally. I just don't really gel with that style. And SteamWorld Build is a simulation title. So as a fan of, because I'm already a fan of the series, like the SteamWorld series, it makes me more likely to pick up a genre that I'm not super familiar with because I like the characters or I like the story or I like the general world, right? So I think from that perspective, it's good. And I'm really enjoying SteamWorld Build. it's simulation done well. I don't know what simulation not done well looks like, but for me,
You know it when you play
sometimes,
it.
yeah, true. Sometimes I find them a bit complicated or a bit dry, lots of menus, and it's a bit overwhelming. This one, you can choose to turn it off if you're okay with it, and but there's a tutorial that's really good, and it takes you through all the steps, so you don't feel too overwhelmed at the beginning, which is something I definitely find with simulation games. I just there's too much to look at, there's too much to look through. I can't find what I need. I don't know where to build this or that. This one's really good. It steps you through. So I'm, so the premise is you're on an alien world that's dying. You're a robot. So this, if you don't know the series, it's like a steampunk universe, a post-apocalyptic steampunk universe with robots and steam-powered robots. It's really cool. And what you're trying to do is find this ancient technology which is hidden underground to get off this planet. That's essentially the story. And you build this town up full of robot workers and robot engineers, and then you have to open up a mine. So there's two parts. There's the building of the overworld, and then there's the underworld, which is this mine aspect, which is really fun. And you're digging, you build miners, and they dig and they find gold and they find tools and they find all sorts of things. And you have to eventually find this artifact and get off the planet. So it's very cool. And my son Hayden is loving it as well because he's a simulation fan more so than me. And he's found one part of this ancient artifact. He's just written me a little note. So live update there. Yeah. So it's really good. So I'm reviewing this one. I'll have my review up ASAP. But yeah, it's going really well. Definitely, the team is really talented at what they do, and you can tell they've put a lot of time and effort into creating this world and the simulation aspects of it. So yeah, it's a good one.
I'm looking forward to your review because
Yeah.
I get pretty much all the SteamWorld games. Dig 1 and 2 and Heist and what was the name of the card one they did? It was like the RPG
Quest.
kind of.
Quest, I think. Is it Quest? SteamWorld
Was that?
Quest?
No, I
I thought it
can't.
was.
It was. Oh yeah, no, it was, but it had like a subtitle or a moniker. It was like SteamWorld Quest something something something.
Hand of Gilgamesh. Is that one?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, long story short, I liked all those other games, even though, like you said, they were distinct in gameplay style. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say about this.
Yeah. Yeah, and Quest, I actually haven't played Quest, to be honest, so I've missed that one. But yeah, definitely a cool series. Every time I hear that there's a new SteamWorld title, it does pique my interest. So yeah, yeah, stay tuned. I'll let you know what I think, my final thoughts. But it's shaping up very well. There's a lot to do. There's like 5 or 6 different areas you can build your world on, and there's plenty of options. Like you can, like I said, you can turn off the tutorial, you can have the story running in the background or not. You can have a sandpit mode if you want to just build to your heart's content if you don't want to worry about the story elements. There's also a lot of different difficulty levels you can choose from. So for accessibility, that's really nice as well. So I've gone with kind of the balanced mode, I think, which is kind of like normal, I guess. But there's like, a light mode or a hard mode or whatever. So I think there's like 4 or 5 different difficulty levels, which is really neat. And yeah, the same is the case for another game that I'm playing actually, which is called Tevi. Uh, Kirk, do you know about this one? Because I thought this sounded like a Kirk-ish title, although it is a Metroidvania. It's not an RPG, but it's very Japanese.
No. I did look at it when it came in, when the review op came in. It's one I considered, but I think aside from watching the movie, I didn't dig in
Right.
too much beyond that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's very, very Japanese influence, which is really cool. Like, so this is my next game that I'm reviewing. It's a Metroidvania kind of platformer style with battle elements and bullet hell elements as well. But you are essentially the character is called Tebi, and you're sort of well, I don't want to give too much away because it actually starts off one way and then moves to another way. But there's a world of humans and demons and angels, and I think they're called beast skins, who are these kind of humanoid creatures with like animal parts, like animal ears or something like that. And there's magic, but the style is very chibi, like big-headed, cartoony character style. But then there's lots of cutscenes which are very anime-esque. So the other thing is that there's lots of voiceover work and it's all in Japanese. There are subtitles, Trev, so you can read and not follow. but but the voiceover is all in Japanese, so it's interesting. It's like a movie that's been, yeah, translated, I suppose, for you. You can put on Japanese subtitles if you can speak Japanese, of course, but I can't. So the
I'll
English
ask Kirk
subtitles
to be my translator.
yeah.
You could be the Bill Trinan to my Miyamoto.
Not a good idea. every
Yeah.
every 150th word you'll get.
Yeah. I know, I could pick up, like, a "Ohayou gozaimasu" or something. I think they did say good morning in one scene, like, "Oh, I know that."
Yeah. Oh, he just apologized for something.
Yeah. Or if they say, "Hi," I know that, like, "Yes." Yeah. They speak very quickly, and it's hard to hear, but that's okay. It's definitely adds to the atmosphere. Graphically, it's really nice. It looks lovely. The style is beautiful. It's got beautiful backgrounds. I'm not too far into it. I've maybe an hour or two, but it's very heavy story based, more so than I expected, and maybe that dips off as you progress. But there's a lot of story. There's a lot of reading and listening if you're listening in Japanese. So that's part of it. And there's a bullet hell element which I'm yet to really experience a lot of so far. There's a few of those kind of things. And this is another thing that this one does well though, is that you can change your difficulty level. There's like, gosh, 6 or 7 or 8 levels of difficulty. So you can
Man,
really, yeah,
that's
you
more than
can.
SteamWorld, and they had 5.
It is, yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool because if you want a really story-based game, you can just dial down that difficulty level right down to I think there's like a picnic level, and then there's one even below that I think, and then you can go really hard as well if you want the challenge. So yeah, you can kind of make it your own, almost like yeah, as hard as you
What's
want or as easy as
below
you like.
picnic? I wonder.
I can't remember now. Yeah, there's like Picnic and then Picnic Plus or something, and then there's another one below that as well. So, yeah, there's
Yeah.
heaps. And you can do melee attacks. You get combos. You can do like
Is it
long range
Malay or
attacks.
is it Melee, or weren't you guys joking about that on a past episode?
Yeah, I guess I say melee since I just said that. I don't know.
Royale.
Royale with cheese. Yeah, I mean,
It's a
I don't know what it
Malay
is.
Royale.
Yes, please. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time because I've already spoken a lot about games I'm playing. So maybe we'll move on to Trev's Mario RPG because you've finished the main story.
I
Do you want to give us a quick
did.
update on that one?
Yeah. It's whenever you finish a game and you're like sad to finish it,
Hmm.
but also like happy. I think that's a sign of just a special game. Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of
totally.
games, even good games, like yeah, beat them, and then it's like okay, that was fun, and then you kind of set it aside and you sort of forget about it. But this one, like I knew I was getting near the end, and I'm like, oh, I want to slow it down. Thankfully, there is
Hmm.
some post game stuff that I'm not gonna get into, but
Hmm.
yeah, look for my thoughts. Well, this will post on a Monday. Look for them by the end of the week, I'll say, and I'll lock myself in.
Cool.
It's going to be a
Yeah.
high score, though, I tell you.
Yeah, I am excited to hear what you finally give it. And I know what you mean about that because I think I was the same with Mario Wonder. I was up to Bowser and I just didn't want to do that final battle. I wanted to savor that moment. And it's like whenever there's a show that I really like and then it ends, I don't watch the last episode so that it's still going for me. It's like it doesn't end it, which is also kind of silly because then I don't get that closure either. So
It's a good thing you're a Simpsons fan because
yeah,
there's one.
well, they've got stories for years and years, haven't they? So
Oh,
yeah,
man. I was thinking
cool.
of when you were talking about picnic difficulty level, Gemma.
Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
difficulty level below that is when Homer was in Abe's nursing home and he was having the nurse like roll him over because he was too lazy to roll himself.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty level when you don't even want to pick up the controller. You just tap the
Yeah.
button and it'll just play it for you.
Yeah, and you can do auto scroll of the text actually. So yeah, you can do that. Where you're just sort of watching the story unfold, I guess. Yeah.
It's almost like Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's awesome. Well, thank you. I haven't had much of a chance to get into Mario RPG again this week after I started it last week, but I've loved what I've done so far and I'm definitely going to pick it up again on the holidays and keep going because it's so good. I love it. Let's talk about Arcadian Atlas from Kirk. What's that one about?
It's this. Well, it's not Mario RPG, but it is a tactical RPG
Cool.
from what I consider an indie developer.
You have to
Um,
qualify that now.
yeah, it's kind of like an old school, we'll say an NES style, but the graphics are a bit enhanced. Tactical RPG. You've got the isometric grid, um, and it's your typical kind of fantasy story. You're using magic. You're using weapons and um, I'm saying all this to make it sound like the typical thing you would expect when you're taking on one of these games. Except the interesting thing about it, and I've never seen this in a game of this style, especially, it has a jazz soundtrack.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the music is kind of like this laid back, chill, kind of like we're at a jazz club vibe. While there's this big story of betrayal and love and combat and death, and it's just this weird dynamic that I'm not used to at all, and I'm finding it all oddly compelling. So
That's
I'm
good.
getting into. I don't want to say the only good thing about it is the soundtrack. There's an awful lot going on here, but that's what struck me so far and is helping this game stand out from the myriad games I've played that are follow these kind of tropes.
Yeah. It certainly has a cool style to it. I like the look of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a nice mix because there's a very distinct style to the characters, as they pop on the screen and you're looking at them, but then, pull back and looking at the action, it's kind of like the pixelated approach that we see in a lot of these. I
Mhm.
don't want to call them retro. They have a retro look, but they're very much a modern style gameplay for this
Yeah.
type of game. So, yeah, it all works kind of well, and I'm having fun with it.
Nice. Is that a review type for you?
Yes, yes, and the review will
Cool.
be up this week, probably sometime
Excellent.
after this episode posts.
Very cool. And it's on
Does the
sale at
jazz
the moment as well.
music
Speaking of sales.
Yes, it's currently
Sorry.
10% off through December 15th, so there's a lot of time to do it. It's a 19.99 game on sale now for 17.99 in the US.
Nice. And sorry, what did you say, Trev?
Oh, does the jazz music kind of um like does it take the tension out of like because it's what like a Civil War type of story?
Yeah, yeah, that's it's when you're not actually fighting and you're kind of exploring, then it's really kind of a relaxing, calm thing that doesn't exactly fit the tone, but also doesn't detract from it. And that's what I'm finding fascinated, or that I'm fascinated by. Like you
Hmm.
would think it would
Yeah.
just kill the effect, but it doesn't. It just creates a weird effect. It's fun.
Yeah. It does sound fun. I like it. Yeah, we look forward to your final or your final thoughts when you get that review finished. Thank you, Kirk. Trev, we have one more game on our list for the week, which is I don't even know how to say this. Is it Irem Collection?
Yeah, that's how I would say it. Volume one, which seems to indicate that more are in the pipeline,
Hmm.
which
What
would be
is it?
cool because they have some, um, pretty good. I think like Arcade Legacy and stuff. This one's interesting that it's really just the Image Fight trilogy, or well, I guess the third game isn't really an Image Fight game, but you know how like they always call the Dragon's Lair trilogy and they count Space Ace just because it has
Mm,
the same developer visual style, whatever. It's sort of like that. They're three shmups,
okay,
and
cool.
what's cool is that they have not just the arcade version, but like the PC Engine version, the NES version, which of course I was quick to load up, and they have options too. So it's like, the game's tough. It kicks my butt, and I can rewind it, and I can
Oh,
do
nice.
unlimited lives, or make the challenge how I want. Like rewinding could easily be abused. I'd rather not do that, but hey, if I
Yeah.
can give myself unlimited lives, I can power through it. Or if I can do, there's all sorts of options. The publisher, they've done a few like retro games like this. It's got a very similar menu, so um, yeah, I like it. It's one of those collections. If you didn't like the original game, Image Fight, you're not gonna like the collection because that's all it is. But as somebody who liked it, it's just what I was looking for.
Yeah, it looks cool. I love shoot 'em ups as well. And it says it's from the golden age of arcade gaming, the late 80s and early 90s. So there you go.
And it's just
Uh,
cool playing a more what feels to me like a later shooter on the NES because
mm,
I play in Image Fight and it's like, oh, this is almost like a like I could imagine it on like the TurboGrafx, which of course it got a port on there, or even like the Sega Genesis. So it does a lot of good things that you might not necessarily expect if you were a NES kid. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of it before. Yeah, looks like a
Yeah,
classic shoot 'em
it's
up to
also a
me.
review game, which um, Mario is first on my list, and I still have Berserk, but
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
follow.
Nice. Well, before we wrap up, we've got a few kind of fun little things to talk about, which is some game anniversaries, specifically Zelda related, actually. Did you want to mention those, Trev, since you found them?
Oh, you know what? I was looking originally. I was just looking for just games in general,
Hmm.
and then after like the third Zelda game, I'm like, are all these Zelda games kind of on 5 year increments? Like,
Yeah,
because Link
seems
Between
like it.
Worlds is 10 years, Ocarina is kind of the big one, 25 years. Link's
Yeah.
Awakening 30 years. It's like give or take a couple of weeks because sometimes they come out a week earlier in North America or Japan or whatever. But I'm like,
Mm.
wow, is that just how it rolls? Like all the big Zelda games are out every 5 years or so. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I bet I missed
interesting.
some too.
I just can't believe it's been 25 years since Ocarina of Time. Well, 30 years since Link's Awakening. That's wow. That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
When
Well,
you
at least
think
with
about
Link's
it.
Awakening, we got the remake for Switch. Ocarina, the 3DS remake is goodness, 12 years old now.
Yeah, right.
It
Even Link
wasn't
Between
that,
Worlds
that
been
was
10
two.
years ago. Jeez. Yeah. We need a new top-down Zelda, I think. We're due for one. I miss
Yeah,
that.
it's I was looking at the last financial records and seeing what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are selling. It's like, oh, is this the end for traditional Zelda? But if you compare it to those numbers, all Zelda games look bad. But
Yeah.
like let's just take Link Between Worlds. Like the remake sold, I think, around 7 million, which is
Hmm.
nothing to sneeze at. Prior to Breath of the Wild, those were great, great numbers. I mean, Ocarina
Mm.
probably wasn't far off of that. So I think there's a market still, even if it's not as big. That's still a huge
Yeah.
number. So
Yeah. And Breath of the Wild was, what was it, 30 plus million or something? Do we know what
mm,
Tears of the Kingdom was off the top of your head?
it was pretty high for not being out very long. It was like in the
Yeah.
teens.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah, I
don't
think
I don't
it's
know offhand.
around 20 maybe. September, that was in September. So and
Oh,
then you got the
wow.
holidays coming up, so it'll probably that'll increase. So,
Maybe even more if it
interesting.
gets at the Game Awards to see what it wins.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I mean, the Game Awards is obviously, good timing or relevant timing because it's the end of the year. And we are currently writing our own Game of the Year list. So we'll be having a show dedicated to that in the coming weeks as well. How are your lists going, guys? It's hard. I'm finding it really hard.
Yeah. I think Kirk's is the best because he got his in fairly quick.
Oh, did you, Kirk? Oh, that's good. Yeah, you're very organized.
Yeah, I'm at top nine. I need one more. The last one's the hardest.
Yeah, I've got a few kind of wild cards. I'm just trying to decide what to um what to do. Okay, Kirk has had to leave actually, so that's why he's not answering us. So
Oh,
yeah,
we'll
I
have to
just saw his
edit
note.
that.
That's okay. Yeah, that's all right. But well, I mean, we're reaching the end of the show anyway, so unless there's something else, Trev, that you want to add before we sign off.
I was actually gonna tell Kirk that the Tron game on Switch is on sale.
Oh, seriously? Really?
Yeah, I wanted to. It was like a Tron. Is that Identity? I had it open here on my phone. I closed it or Identified.
Yeah, Tron
And
Identity. Yeah.
yeah, it's 20% off for a few more days anyway. So,
Yeah. Looks like it's until the 6th of December, 20% off. Yeah. I wonder if he's tried that. I have not. Have
and
you?
there's no Gandhi video game that I know of. So, score one for Tron.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now who's the best costume designer? Oh, that's good. That's good. Yes, well, thank you, Trev and Kirk. Kirk will have to listen back and listen to my thanks. Thank you both for joining me this week, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in this week. We love what we do. We love talking about games, Nintendo games. We love your feedback or comments. So let us know what you think. If you leave us a question on YouTube, we will respond next week.
Ring
And
that
make sure,
bell. Ring that
yeah.
bell.
Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on notifications of our episodes that air every Monday. And also, we have our gaming magazine, the Pure Nintendo magazine, that we put out every 2 months, and we're working on our next issue right now. So if you'd like to subscribe and support us, please head over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo. We would love your support. Um, Thank you so much, Trev, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, weekend, night, whatever whatever time it is over there for you.
Morning,
But
evening, afternoon. It don't
yeah.
matter.
But thank you, listeners, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, game on, everybody. Bye.
See ya.